After Caleb Miller left in the middle of the night again for his former fated mate, I learned one thing: to stop caring. He'd go 30 hours without replying while on night patrol, and I wouldn't wait anymore. He'd forget my birthday, and I wouldn't bring it up. When an enemy bit my ankle, I'd grit my teeth, bandage it myself, and continue combat training. Loving someone is hard, but letting go is simple. Joanna Bennett, POV. Today was the public combat exhibition at the full moon ceremony. The third act involved a high difficulty combat combo. The moment I landed the ninth move, a searing pain shot through the old wound in my ankle. A crowd gathered at the edge of the training field. Joanna, should we stop? My forehead instantly beaded with cold sweat, and my vision briefly blurred. The ankle wound was from 3 days ago, a fierce bite from an attacker during a skirmish. The doctor said the wound contained a unique toxin that was hard to remove immediately, and that I should rest, but I hadn't listened. Gritting my teeth, I waved them off. It's the last act. I don't remember how I managed to get through 8 minutes of solo demonstration. I only remember the loud applause at the end, the bonfire's light flickering in my blurred vision, and dark red blood seeping through the bandage on my ankle. I smiled and bowed 3 times. No one saw me shaking all over from the pain as I walked off the stage, almost needing to lean against the wall to stand steady. 1 a.m. at the Pack Hospital. I sat alone on a plastic chair in the observation room, applying special herbal medicine. The doctor's brows furrowed tightly. The wound toxin wasn't completely removed, which is why it split open. Why did you wait until now to come? I just finished the exhibition. My voice was a little hoarse. While recording my information, the doctor glanced at my pale face and casually asked, "You're Caleb Miller's girlfriend, aren't you? Many people saw you two together, maybe 5 days ago?" My eyelashes fluttered. Caleb Miller, son of Frostvale Pax Alpha, and my boyfriend. We had indeed been together 5 days ago. He'd asked me out on a date. But the next day, I waited 5 hours at the restaurant we'd booked, only to receive a text saying, "Something came up, we'll reschedule." That reschedule never came. "Do you want me to call him over for you?" I saw them finish their patrol. The doctor kindly offered. "No need," I said. "Don't disturb his work." No sooner had I spoken than footsteps echoed from the end of the hallway. Caleb came downstairs and paused as he passed the observation room. He turned and walked in, his gaze falling on my ankle, and his brows immediately furrowed. "You're hurt again? Why didn't you tell me?" He crouched down, his disapproval evident. I pull my foot back. "It's just a small injury." Caleb's hand froze in midair, looking at me in surprise. Before, if I even scraped my skin during training, I take a picture and send it to him, whining, "My wound hurts so much, I miss you." Before every important mission, I'd nervously burrow into his arms, repeatedly asking, "You'll be by my side, right?" Now, with old wounds tearing open and new ones piling on, there wasn't a trace of complaint on my face. I wouldn't even let him touch me. Before he could ask, footsteps sounded from the end of the hallway. "Caleb." The voice was soft and gentle, with a hint of laughter. Chloe walked over, carrying 2 hot drinks, and naturally stood beside Caleb. "Your favorite mocha, light on sugar and milk." She handed him a cup, then her gaze shifted to me, pausing for a beat. "This is your friend?" Caleb took the hot drink, his voice unconsciously softening by half a degree. "My girlfriend, Joanna Bennett. She hurt her foot." "Oh my goodness, is it serious?" Chloe immediately crouched down to look at my ankle. "Hi, I'm Chloe Davis. You really can't do any high-intensity training with this injury. You need to rest." Her tone was sincere. The fleeting hint of disdain in her eyes was also sincere. Chloe, I knew her too. She had some alpha blood, making her a strong fighter. She was also Caleb's ex. They were once fated mates, but Chloe chose to go abroad to a werewolf academy for 5 years. They had differing opinions, so they held a rejection ceremony. 5 years later, She was back, and Caleb still prioritized her. Maybe they truly were the right partners, and they would always find their way back to each other. And I was just an interlude during those 5 years, nothing significant. "Thanks," I said. The doctor already treated it. As Chloe stood up, her shoulder brushed against Caleb's arm. "Caleb, you still have patrol tonight. I'll go with you." "Okay." Caleb seemed not to notice her familiarity. He looked at me. "I'll take you home first." "No need." I pushed myself up using the armrest. The herbs had been applied to the wound, removing some of the remaining toxins. But it still wasn't healed, so I had to use crutches for now. Caleb frowned. "How can you?" But I was already walking away. The crutches tapped against the ground, one steady rhythm after another. Chloe's voice drifted from behind me, clear even across the entire hallway. "Caleb, did she misunderstand something? Should I go explain it to her?" "She's not like that." Caleb's voice held a hint of helplessness. I didn't look back. For 5 years, I never made a fuss, never questioned, never chased after answers. I thought that by being understanding and considerate, I would earn Caleb's attention, but instead, I got his neglect. I had thought about texting him on the way to the hospital, but when I opened my phone, I saw a message I'd sent 3 days ago. "Full moon exhibition today. I have a solo combat demonstration. Will you come?" He hadn't replied. I knew it wasn't that he forgot. He just didn't want to reply. In his life's priorities, I ranked after the pack, after his missions, after that hot drink with light sugar and milk. And definitely after Chloe. It had always been that way. Back home, I pulled open the study drawer. The invitation from the Shadow Fong pack lay quietly inside. I had read it many times. "We sincerely invite you to join the Shadow Fong pack as a warrior trainer." My thumb traced the gilded totem on the paper. I remembered how easily he took the hot drink Chloe offered at the hospital, how his tone unconsciously softened when he spoke to her, and how he hadn't even asked if I was hurting when I got injured that day. 5 years. I had waited for countless reschedules, for countless something came up excuses. I didn't want to wait anymore. I found a piece of letter paper and personally wrote a reply. "Thank you for the invitation. I accept. I will report for duty within 7 days. Joanna Bennett." Joanna Bennett, POV. That night, a stinging pain radiated from my ankle wound, throbbing beneath my skin. The painkillers the doctor gave me weren't doing much. My wolf was growling restlessly, helpless. I didn't know where those attackers had gotten such a toxin. I didn't sleep all night. Caleb didn't come home all night. At 7 in the morning, I hobbled into the kitchen on my crutches. As I was chopping vegetables, I suddenly thought of my mom. I rarely saw her either. She was a powerful werewolf warrior, responsible for protecting our Luna, her schedule always packed. Even on her rare days off, she was often called back for urgent tasks. Since childhood, I've been used to eating alone, sleeping alone, and going to school with my keys hanging around my neck. But every time my mom came home, she would be busy in the kitchen for a long time, preparing meals for the next few days, arranging them in containers in the fridge, with sticky notes on the lids. "Eat this on Tuesday. Remember to heat this box for 2 minutes." Later, she had an accident during an attack, suffering severe injuries while saving the Luna. From falling down to passing away, it was only 11 hours. At 19, I stood before her body, my mind a blank. I don't remember my reaction then, only that my knees hurt when they hit the floor tiles, and I cried until I couldn't breathe, feeling like all the strength had been drained from me. Pack members stood around, but no one approached at that moment. Suddenly, someone crouched down in front of me. A warm drink was handed to me, still carrying the warmth of a hand. I looked up and saw a young face with gentle eyes. "Don't cry," he said, his voice soft. "Your mother was a great warrior. She protected all of us. Even though she's gone, we'll all remember her." Through a veil of tears, I saw his face, Caleb Miller. The Alpha Sun. I didn't drink that bottle of soda, but I held it in my hands until it was completely cold. From that day on, I remembered him and those gentle eyes. The second time I saw him was 2 years later. It was my final graduation exam at the training grounds. The sky was already dark when the mission ended, making it hard to see my surroundings, but as I was checking in, I unintentionally glanced towards the assembly point and saw a familiar figure standing in the corner. He stood there quietly, wearing a dark blue uniform, applauding without much enthusiasm, but very earnestly. Afterward, I didn't change, but ran out of the training grounds clutching a bouquet of pink roses, stopping him at the entrance. "Caleb Miller, can I pursue you?" He looked at me, clearly stunned for a moment. Then he smiled, a gentle smile that held a weariness I didn't understand at the time. "I just lost my fated mate. I'm not over it yet." I knew he was rejecting me, but the warmth of that drink was still in my heart, and those 10 minutes of companionship were still in my memory. I so desperately wanted that kind of gentle love, unique, a favoritism meant only for me. Growing up, with my father's early death and my mother's passing, I had never been looked at with such focused attention. He appeared at my most helpless moment. Even just a bottle of soda and a word of comfort felt like a beacon of light to me. "It's okay," I heard myself say. "I can help you get through it slowly." I thought that if I was patient and sincere enough, he would eventually turn and see me. In the 5 years we were together, Caleb was indeed good to me. He would train with me, go on missions with me, and take me to the doctor if I was injured. But that kindness always felt veiled. Gentle, yes, but never passionate. He smiled at me, but also at every pack member. I couldn't tell if I was special to him or just one among many. I convinced myself it was enough. Being loved by a gentle person was enough. On his birthday, I felt our relationship should move to the next stage. I booked his favorite restaurant, prepared a ring, and decorated with roses. That evening, as I was rehearsing what to say in front of the mirror, my phone rang. Caleb's voice was urgent. "Chloe Davis is back, and she's injured. I'm going to the hospital first. Wait for me at the restaurant." The call ended. The ring was in my pocket, and I waited 5 hours at the restaurant. He didn't come, nor did he call. From that day on, everything changed. During the time Chloe was back, whenever she called, Caleb would immediately rush over, no matter what he was doing. He started coming home late frequently, becoming absent-minded, and there was something in his eyes when he spoke of Chloe that I had never seen before. I told myself that once Chloe recovered, perhaps everything would return to normal. Until that late night, I got up to retrieve something from the study and accidentally knocked over an old photo album from a corner of the bookshelf. The album fell to the floor, scattering its contents. Every page featured Chloe. Some were candid shots, some were posed together. The backgrounds ranged from training grounds to hospitals, from summer to winter. And on the back of every photo, Caleb's handwriting. Day 47. Missing you. A new recruit shares your birthday today. I crouched on the floor, turning page after page, my fingers not trembling. The date on the last photo was a week before our 5th anniversary. On the back, it read, "If you hadn't left then, I would never have let go." I closed the album and placed it back in the corner of the bookshelf, neatly arranged, exactly as it had been before I took it down. Joanna Bennett, POV. I went to the training field despite my injury. My ankle was thickly bandaged. I didn't participate, only supervised training all day from the sidelines. Someone asked if I wanted to take the day off, but I said no. Sitting there was still work. I returned home at 8 p.m. The entryway light was off. Only my shoes were on the shoe rack, and there were no messages from him on my phone. Another day and night, he hadn't come home. I was pouring water when I received Alpha Leo's mind link. "Have you really decided to leave?" he asked me. "Yes. I want to go somewhere I can better utilize my abilities." In the Frostvale pack, I seemed destined to be just a squad leader. Because the packs Beta and Delta held considerable influence, it was difficult for me to surpass their positions. More than that, we want you to be safe, Alpha Leo said. That's also why we didn't arrange for you to inherit your mother's position. We couldn't let her only daughter continue to face danger. I was silent for a moment, then genuinely said, "Thank you, Alpha Leo. Even if I leave the pack, I will always love you and Luna Elena." Alpha Leo sighed. "All right, gather your documents. Beta Cole will arrange everything for your departure." Ending the conversation, I walked into the bedroom. I opened the bedside table, identification, bank cards, and some documents related to the squad I managed. And, of course, the investigation into the attacker's identity. I placed the documents one by one into a folder. Mid-packing, I suddenly paused and scanned the room. Caleb had a slight obsession with cleanliness. He disliked having too many cluttered items at home. When I first moved in, I bought a floor lamp, but he said it didn't match, so I returned it. Later, I wanted to grow flowers on the balcony, but he said it would attract bugs, so I didn't. Over 5 years, I had learned to curb my presence in this home. Only now, as I packed, did I realize how few of my belongings there were, not even enough to fill one suitcase. A few changes of seasonal clothes, a pair of spare combat boots, a jewelry box, identification documents, and some files from when I became a patrol squad leader. That was all. 5 years, condensed into half a suitcase. The bedroom door suddenly opened. Caleb walked in, pausing when he saw the scattered documents on the bed. "What are you busy with?" "Organizing some materials," I said, not looking up. "I thought we could travel together for Christmas, so I'm preparing in advance." "Christmas?" Caleb glanced at me. "It's only July." He was cut off by his phone ringing. Chloe's name lit up the screen. "Caleb, I'm not very familiar with tonight's patrol route. Can you come help me?" The voice on the other end wasn't loud, but in the quiet room, it was clearly audible. Caleb hung up and looked at me, his lips moving. He looked guilty, yet he couldn't put Chloe aside. "Go," I said, folding a document and slipping it into a bag. "Work is important." Caleb stood still, his brows furrowed, perhaps sensing something was off. If it had been the old me, I would have frowned and said, "She's a werewolf warrior too. Why can't she handle such a small thing? There are so many warriors in the pack. Why does she always call you?" But this time, I said nothing. My eyes didn't even leave the documents. "I might not be back tonight," he said. "Dinner together tomorrow morning?" "Okay." Caleb left, relieved. The door closed softly. Listening to his footsteps fade, I packed all the remaining materials into the folder and sealed it. Joanna Bennett, POV. I woke up the next day to a cold pillow. I picked up my phone and saw a message sent at 3 a.m. "Last night was an emergency. Couldn't make it back this morning. I'm sorry." I looked at it for 2 seconds, then locked the screen. The apology was real, and so was his inability to return. There were always so many things ahead of me, so many that "I'm sorry" had become a common phrase. After training that evening, I carried my bag home. As I changed shoes in the entryway, I heard voices in the living room. I walked in and saw Chloe sitting on the sofa, wearing loose loungewear, with a suitcase at her feet. Caleb stood beside her, his expression tightening the moment he saw me. "Chloe, she's not quite settled since she came back. She always has trouble sleeping alone." He fumbled for his words. "She lost touch with her pack friends during her years abroad, and now I'm the person she's closest to. I thought I'd let her stay in the guest room for a few days, until she adjusts then." "Okay." I put down my bag. Caleb tensed all over, his lips slightly parted, as if he was scrambling for excuses in his mind. But I agreed too quickly, so quickly that the expression on his face instantly froze, like he'd choked on cold air, unable to utter a single word. Chloe stood up from the sofa, her voice soft. "Caleb, can I invite a few friends over for dinner?" A welcome home party for me. I'd feel more at ease if you arranged it. Caleb hadn't answered yet when I spoke. Sure, I'll prepare it. Chloe smiled, a fleeting flash of triumph in her eyes. That evening, Chloe's invited friends arrived one after another. They were all Caleb's old friends, along with some members from other packs who had attended school with them. The living room quickly grew lively. Everyone gathered around Chloe. They talked about her experiences, how she'd gotten thinner, how she was still as beautiful as ever. I was in the kitchen, cutting fruit, pouring drinks, and changing plates. I entered and exited the living room many times. No one asked if I wanted to sit down and chat with them. After a few rounds of drinks, someone, a little drunk, slung an arm around Caleb's shoulder. I say, Caleb, if you and Chloe hadn't broken up back then, you'd probably have kids by now, right? Ha 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 ha. The living room fell silent for an instant. Caleb's face changed, and he sharply looked at me. I was coming out of the kitchen, carrying a platter of sliced watermelon. I placed the platter on the coffee table and smiled. Yeah, what a shame. My tone was light, like commenting on a movie. But no one dared to speak again. The man awkwardly drank his drink, and it took a while for the atmosphere to ease. Caleb stared at my profile for a long time. I was smiling, but there was nothing in that smile. No jealousy, no resentment, not even a trace of caring. Like an outsider hosting guests. After the dinner broke up, I was washing dishes in the kitchen. Chloe leaned against the doorframe. Joanna, do you know that Caleb and I are fated mates? The water faucet ran. My hands didn't stop. The mating ceremony was all planned, Chloe said loudly. I was the one who broke up with him. I wanted to go abroad. He begged me to stay, but I refused. I turned off the faucet and placed the last plate in the rack. I turned around, drying my hands, and looked at Chloe. So, Chloe met my gaze, her smile confident, even carrying a hint of pity. So I'm back. She took a step forward. This spot in this home is mine. It's time for you, the replacement, to make your exit. The kitchen was silent for a few seconds. I folded the hand towel and hung it back on the hook. You're right, I said. It is time for me to make my exit. Chloe's smile stiffened. Joanna Bennett, you'd better understand your place. You're just an orphan with no family, you. Joanna Bennett, POV. I cut her off. Chloe, we're all adults here. You can't let go of Caleb. You can go after him, but there's no need to put me down. Chloe looked furious. I didn't look at her again and walked out. In the living room, Caleb had just returned from seeing off his friends and bumped into me. He glanced at the kitchen, then at my face. They had a bit too much to drink earlier. Those things they said, don't take them to heart. I looked at him, silent for a few seconds. Caleb Miller, I saw the photo album on your bookshelf. The air in the living room seemed to solidify. Every single one was Chloe, and on the back of each one were your words. My voice was steady. Day 47, missing you. If you came back, I would never let go again. Caleb looked flustered, trying to grab my wrist, but I pulled away. Joanna, let me explain. That was just... No need to explain. I cut him off. Caleb stubbornly grabbed my hand. Joanna, his voice tightened. Let's talk. Caleb. Chloe came out of the kitchen, holding up her hand, her voice urgent. I accidentally cut my finger just now. It's bleeding a lot. Quick, help me look. Will it affect me doing missions later? Blood was oozing from between her fingers. Caleb immediately released my wrist and strode towards Chloe. I stood there looking down at my released wrist. A red mark remained, but it would soon fade. Just like all my traces of him, I glanced at the two of them, then turned and walked upstairs. My ankle injury still hadn't healed. The bandage was wrapped tightly, and I had to lean heavily on the banister to climb the stairs. Amidst Caleb comforting Chloe in the background, as I reached the fourth step, the bandage accidentally caught on a metal bar. I didn't have time to react. My foot slipped, and I fell heavily. That already swollen foot twisted sharply. A searing pain shot through me. I bit my lip, not making a sound. Caleb's voice came from the living room. What happened? He took 2 steps towards me, then was called back. Caleb, I'm still bleeding. Please help me first. His footsteps stopped. I bit my lip, slowly stood up by leaning on the wall. My left foot was completely useless. The blood from my ankle was close to soaking through the bandage. My wolf was almost entirely consumed by the pain and the agitation from the toxin. I pulled out my phone and dialed the doctor's number. Hello, my ankle is injured again. Could you please come pick me up? Caleb finally walked over, his face pale. I'll take you. No need. No sooner had I spoken than the sound of a vehicle came from outside. The doctor's assistant came in and helped me into the car. I didn't let Caleb touch me the entire time. 40 minutes later, after being treated, I walked out of the clinic on crutches. Caleb was waiting for me in the hallway. Joanna. He blocked my path. What's wrong with you tonight? Why are you so cold? If you're angry, just say so. I can change, can't I? I stopped and looked at him. The hallway light was bright white. Anxiety and confusion were in his eyes. Caleb Miller, I said, haven't you always hated it when I lost my temper? Caleb froze. Every time I confronted you about Chloe, you'd say I was too sensitive. You'd tell me to be more sensible, not to be unreasonable. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Now I'm sensible. I looked at him, my voice soft. I'm not throwing a temper. I can solve problems on my own without bothering you. I paused. Isn't this what you always wanted? Joanna Bennett, POV. Caleb looked panicked. My eyes held genuine confusion. Caleb couldn't meet my gaze. I walked towards the door on my crutches. The cold light of dawn shone on my retreating back, but I held my spine straight. He seemed very uncomfortable. Joanna. He caught up to me, bent down, and picked me up. I didn't struggle, nor did I lean against him. I just lay quietly in his arms, like a piece of luggage. In the car, he buckled my seatbelt. When his fingers brushed against me, I flinched away. Caleb gripped the steering wheel in silence for a long time, then spoke. Joanna, let's have the mating ceremony. His tone became resolute. Let's officially become mates. The car was instantly silent. I turned my head to look at him. Didn't you always say a mating ceremony was too soon? I said softly. You said you liked our current state very much. Caleb's voice was hoarse. We've been together for 5 years. We're going to have a mating ceremony sooner or later, so why not now? I looked at the unconcealed tension in his eyes and suddenly found it amusing. That expression for 5 years had always been on my face. I had tested him countless times, and he always had an excuse. Too busy missions, let's wait. Now that I didn't care, he was suddenly anxious. That impatient look was almost as if he was trying to forcefully bind me to him with a mate bond. I didn't answer. The ride was silent. When we got home, I went upstairs and Caleb sat motionless on the sofa. My ankle throbbed faintly. I lay on the bed and closed my eyes. Soon after, I heard the sound of the front door closing and an engine starting downstairs. He went to find Chloe. It was expected, not worth losing sleep over. The next day, Beta Cole brought me my passport, plane ticket, and all other necessary documents for going abroad. The flight was booked for 3 days later. I confirmed the details, and when I returned to the apartment, Chloe was sitting there, eating pasta Caleb had cooked. Morning. Chloe smiled at me, her posture like the lady of the house. Caleb came out of the kitchen, his tone a little coaxing. The weather's nice today. Why don't the 3 of us go for a walk and relax? I thought for a moment. Sure. There were large forests within the pact territory. Werewolves usually loved transforming into their wolf forms and running freely, rolling around in the forest. We didn't do that. Chloe and Caleb seemed to prefer walking in human form. Chloe linked arms with Caleb, chatting about her experiences abroad, laughing and patting his shoulder. I walked behind them on my crutches, looking at the roadside flowers, at the clouds in the sky. No one looked back to tell me to catch up. And I didn't need them to. There was a lake in the forest, a famous dating spot within the pack. As we reached the lake, Chloe walked over to me, her voice soft. "Joanna, who do you think Caleb would save first if there was danger?" Before I could answer, two wildly sprinting werewolves suddenly rushed towards us. Chloe screamed, didn't dodge, but instead bumped into me. Due to my injured foot, I couldn't dodge in time, and Chloe and I fell towards the lake. In that split second of falling, I saw Caleb rush over. His arms firmly caught Chloe. Chloe huddled in his embrace. Then I plunged into the cold lake water. Through the swirling water, I saw the two of them on the shore, tightly embracing. Chloe was buried in Caleb's arms, and he held her shoulders tightly. I kept my eyes open in the water. The bandage on my ankle was soaked, and blood began to seep out again. I thought I really wouldn't have any expectations for Caleb anymore.